Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Had a great story sent to me by David, and this is from CNBC, and it's also been featured in their American Greed series. And this is fabulous because I love that series. I watch it all the time, and it's about ripoffs and scams and Ponzi schemes and pyramid schemes and you name it. If it involves a lot of money being stolen by somebody, they will do a story on it, and they're fascinating. Stacy Keach narrates it with that wonderful voice of his. And Scott Cohn wrote a story version of this for CNBC that outlines what is in the documentary, but it's how a country lawyer pulled off the biggest Social Security fraud ever and why it could happen again. And this is a problem because anytime you see tax dollars being stolen, it hurts all of us who pay taxes. But we're talking about the story that a man named Eric C. Kahn, an attorney in Kentucky, pulled off a $550 million fraud, according to authorities. And that was by robbing the Social Security system. So attorney Ned Pillersdorf, who was working with Kahn's victims, in an interview with CNBC's American Greed, said, Kahn had a brilliant business design. Set up shop, do a lot of advertising in an area where you have a lot of people who are truly disabled, bribe the judge, a corrupt judge, and he made millions. So we have to go back and explain how this all works. Disability insurance is what we're talking about here, and it's a key part of the Social Security system. And so if you've worked and paid into the system long enough, you can receive benefits if you become disabled. But under federal rules, a person to apply must show that their disability prevents them from working in any capacity and is expected to last at least 1 year. And that working in any capacity is a very, very high threshold. So there are thousands of people who've lost their ability to work and rely on disability payments to get by in Kentucky, coal country, which is where this guy set up his business. So Kahn, who's of course got the greatest name ever to be pulling a con, advertised himself as Mr. Social Security. He ran billboards and commercials, and everybody in the area knew who he was. He promised he could win disability payments that people could not secure on their own. And the man appeared to have a magic touch when it came to filing disability claims on behalf of people who may or may not have been disabled. Under federal rules, disability lawyers collect a percentage of the claims that they win up to $6,000 per case. By 2010, Kahn was the third highest paid disability lawyer in the nation, collecting $3.9 million from the Social Security Administration that year alone. What Kahn wasn't telling people was that his purported 99% success rate was the result of payments that he was making to an administrative law judge who essentially rubber stamped his claims. When the scam finally was exposed, Social Security suspended disability payments to 1,700 recipients. So it became a big, big mess. So, for example, Leroy Burchett was a former printing press crewman and delivery truck driver, plagued with pain after having 2 spinal surgeries. He went to Kahn as a last-ditch effort, according to his wife. When Leroy got word in 2015 that his disability payments would be cut off, Emma says that's the wife, says that the pressure is too much for her husband to bear. So she told American Greed, my husband's just in a complete panic because, everything's gone. He said, I don't want to know what I'm going to do. What are we going to do? So within days, the panic took a dark turn. He got up that morning. It was like he was a totally different person. He came to the house yelling and cussing. He was throwing things. I opened the door. He was sitting on the edge of the bed with a gun. I took the gun away from him, and he said the same words to me again. He said, you're not going to stop this. Nothing can fix this. And he shot himself and died. Kahn eventually pleaded guilty last year to a 2-count federal complaint of stealing from the government and paying illegal gratuities. But he fled while awaiting sentencing and was sentenced in absentia to 12 years in prison. He was captured in the Honduras in December, and Kahn is now being held without bond pending additional charges related to his escape, to which he's pleaded not guilty. And federal prosecutors claiming Kahn violated his plea agreement are seeking to try him on an 18-count criminal indictment, including conspiracy, fraud, money laundering, and destroying evidence, which Khan has now moved to dismiss. Now, the judge in this case admitted to accepting $600,000 in bribes. He pleaded guilty to 2 felony counts and is himself serving a 4-year prison sentence. But for hundreds of Khan's clients, the nightmare continues because it's possible that some of these people actually had legitimate claims. Okay? So, Pillersdorf is part of a team of attorneys trying to straighten this mess out, and he posts regular updates on his Facebook page. One of the main reasons I do this has been really, number one, suicide prevention. Number two, to let these people know what's going on and to let people know that they're not being abandoned. But the Social Security Administration and the government watchdog agency that oversees it are trying to make certain that nothing like this ever happens again. John Grasso, who's a special agent in charge of the Social Security Administration's Office of Inspector General's New York field office, says it's very helpful when we have these large-scale cases because it often leads to change. Okay? So he said Social Security has stiffened penalties for disability fraud, particularly for what he called facilitators, who are the doctors, the lawyers, the third-party representatives, and the bribed judges. Okay? It doesn't say bribed judges here, but I added that in because it seems obvious. The agency is also working more closely with other government agencies, including law enforcement, to analyze claims data that signals potential fraud. In 2015, Congress increased funding for a program known as Cooperative Disability Investigation, enough to put CDI teams in every state. And of course, it'll probably lead to a new TV series, CDI Kentucky. Grasso said those tools are already helping. His office worked to bust a ring of New York City police and firefighters collecting fraudulent payments for mental disabilities, as well as a disability scam in Puerto Rico involving dozens of doctors. Still, he is appealing to the public for help, urging people to apply for disability benefits to be aware of third parties such as attorneys and claims reps who make grandiose promises. Social Security has strict rules about how those representatives are compensated, so be wary of any requests for payments up front. Make certain payments are kept in escrow pending the outcome of the claim as well. And if you suspect fraud, there is a toll-free number that you can call to turn in people who are committing fraud. Despite all of that, Grasso says he's very confident that people will continue trying to defraud the system, possibly on the scale of Khan, because there's so much money there. Money attracts people like moths to a flame. I think it's American greed. That's exactly what it is, he said. If the opportunity is there, people are going to take that opportunity. Until you put that wall up and you show that there's consequences for it, people are going to continue to do it. So the Kentucky lawyer was involved in what appears to be a $550 million fraud, and that money was being bilked out of the Social Security Trust Fund, and that's not a good thing. And again, this was involving disability benefits. So there's all kinds of different things, and I'm sure you've heard the stories about Medicaid fraud, Medicare fraud. Anytime there's government money being spent on anything, people will figure out ways to try to rip off the system. So the fact that one lawyer managed to do this and collect $3.9 million in 1 year alone, doing this one little scam, is something that obviously, they need to do something about. Whether it's, making the penalties stiffer isn't going to do it. There's got to be other things they can do. You would think if you see one attorney running a huge number of cases in front of one judge and getting a ridiculously disproportionate number of wins, you think that would at least draw someone's attention. But again, they're working on it. But again, when the government's working on solving a problem that another branch of the government's got, don't hold your breath. But thanks for passing the story along, David, and CNBC. Keep doing the good work, especially on that TV show, American Greed. I love it. Questions, comments, put them below. Otherwise, talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. As you wish.